everyone. Welcome to Woolen Spinning. My name is Rachel. It is Tuesday, May 7th, 2024, and I hope you are all doing really super well. It's good to see everybody. It's good to have you all here. See everybody. I know we're actually in chat, but I just love having you all here, and I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sorry we're a minute or two late. I wanted to fix one of the links in the Patreon post. It looks like it didn't post properly. It was the wrong link, so I fixed it, and it looks like we're good to go. Thank you to Rebecca for catching that. I always really appreciate that. If things aren't working properly, and yeah, we're kind of up and on our way. I don't have proper show notes today. The document that I had updated for all of our show notes, I updated every show. It didn't save. None of it saved. So when I went back into it this morning, nothing was there, which is not helpful at all. So we're kind of winging it today, but that's okay. We have lots of stuff to talk about. I have a lot to share with you, and I hope that you guys enjoy the show. You can see I've got a whole pile of stuff here next to me. It's all like, you know, kind of spaced out. Lots to share with you. I have a new cast on that I wanted to share with you. I also have a spin that I'm really struggling with, and I thought that I would share. We also have a teeny tiny bit of housekeeping to get through, which we'll talk about now. And yes, the computer ate my notes. That's right, Eveline. You're absolutely right. It ate my notes. Instead of having a dog, my computer ate my notes. Yeah, and I wanted to just share with you guys what's going on in our woolen spinning community. So we've got a lot going on at the moment. The Woolen Spinning Radio episode has been released for May. I sat down with Rebecca and I actually talked to her about preparing to travel. She's on a sabbatical for 5 months with her family. And she talks a little bit about why they are doing the sabbatical and where they're going and what they're going to be doing. But we talked a lot about getting ready for a big trip like that and being away from home for 5 months and what that looks like in terms of prepping for projects and things to bring. And she's obviously not going to be cut off from civilization, so she can get anything that she forgot or didn't bring or whatever. But we did talk about, you know, sort of what that would look like in terms of, you know, getting ready and recognizing that we have stashes at home and that we want to keep spinning and keep working with our stuff. And yeah, which is awesome. And she's already gone. She's already down at Maryland's Sheep and Wool. So this past weekend she was there. She had an epic time. She said it was amazing, which I was so pleased to hear. And yeah, over the next 2 years, we're already halfway through the first year already. I can't believe that June is on our doorstep. We are looking at our Spinner's Book of Yarn and of Yarn Designs by Sarah Anderson. And we have been engaging in lots of different places. Before I talk about all of that and sort of share with you how you can engage with all of that, Queries and Explorations is one of our Zoom groups that meets on Saturday mornings. And we've been chatting. We did joins for the first part of the year, and we're talking about how we join fibers on spindles, on the wheel, different types of fiber joins. And now we're into the last a couple weeks ago, we're meeting this coming Saturday. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about like the barriers to larger spins. You know, what keeps us from starting those big spins, and what we find intimidating about big spins, what we find overwhelming. My big roadblock is fiber preparation and getting the time to do the fiber prep to get the spins started. Especially because I've been wanting to, you know, start dyeing some of my fibers before I start spinning them. So then I need to dye them, you know, prepare them, and then start spinning. So it just feels like a lot of steps and a multi-step process. So we've been talking about, you know, some ways to overcome some of that, which is sometimes hard. So ways to engage in our Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs. We've just finished our sort of series on back to basics. We spent January through to the end of April talking about, you know, just getting back to basics, getting back to the simplicity. We talked a lot about plying. We talked a lot about, you know, sampling, spinning control cards. What else did we do, you guys? Help me out in chat. We did a lot. We talked about, I don't even remember. We did so much. Anyhow, so Spinning Pearls is published for Patreon members of the community on Sunday mornings at like 2 a.m. so that those on the East Coast wake up to an email in their inbox about the Spinning Pearl for that week. Spinning Staples is meeting tomorrow. It is the second Wednesday already. It's late in May. I feel like we're late this month to start the live stream because even though it's the first Tuesday of the month, we've already had an entire week of the month already because there's 5 Wednesdays in May, and that always throws me off. So Spinning Staples is meeting tomorrow. They are going to be looking at sort of what's coming, what they're looking forward to, what they want to work on. And the Wool Circle is streaming on the opposite Tuesdays from the live stream. So next Tuesday at 10 a.m., Rebecca is going to be tackling spinning singles, which is very exciting. If you are part of the Slack channel, you will know about these Zoom groups and you will see the Zoom links that pop up when they are on. So we've got our spin groups on Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific. It's funny, I was feeling really low energy this morning and feeling really like, well, a little bit Eeyore, a little bit hum-de-dum. But I jumped in after I dropped the kids off this morning for school, and I'm so glad that I did. You guys just gave me a huge lift, so thank you so much. Our other spin group meets on Thursdays at 8 a.m. British Summer Time, and that catches those of you who are down under. And Fiber Prep group alternates with Weaving group, and they meet on Fridays at 8 a.m. We would love to see you and have you attend and join. Everybody's really super friendly, so don't hesitate to jump in if it's your first time. Book club. Becca had to cancel book club a couple of weeks ago. She came down with a migraine. I hope that you feel better, Becca. I know it takes a few days to recover from those. So Daughters of Nuri was rescheduled to Sunday, May 19th, which gave me a chance to mention it here on the podcast so that you guys would know. So we're not looking at this coming Sunday. We're looking at the Sunday after. So Sunday, May 19th, I'm hoping that I'll be able to go. That's a long weekend here in Canada. And Nora's playing in a tournament that weekend. So I'm just hoping that she's not playing at 12 noon on Sunday so that I can jump in and listen to you guys. I didn't read the book, but I want to hear what people said about it. I think that's it for housekeeping. We got through it really fast today. I wanted to talk really quickly about what I'm wearing because I always get questions and then I always forget to say something in the show and I get all discombobulated. So this is the Turtledove 2. I think there's 2 versions of this sweater that are available on Ravelry, and you can get it elsewhere off of Ravelry as well, but that's where I got it from. It's from Espace Tricot, and my project page is here. I'll post it in the chat, and it's knit with a lot of positive ease. So it's a raglan, it's a top-down raglan, and you build it out. Let me just show you here. You build it out. You do the turtleneck, and it's a twisted rib. I wish I had made my turtleneck a little bit longer. I did follow the pattern, but because of the twisted rib, the type of yarn that I used, I'll talk about that in a minute. I wish I had just made my turtleneck just a little teeny bit longer. I also would have knit it on slightly smaller needles, and I would have used a really, really stretchy cast on. The cast on that I used is fine. It's a long tail cast on, but I think if I were to do it again, I would use an even stretchier cast on. The other thing you could do is cast on down here and then knit your turtleneck after, and that would give you a little bit more stability in your neckline, so that it's not sort of prone to stretch out. So there's a couple of things that you can do to just make the upper part of this sweater just really lovely, and just those little finishing touches that make a big difference in the long term. It's all fine and well if the sweater looks great on the dress form when you first finish it, but after you've worn it a ton, because I have worn this a lot, I tend to just kind of pull it on when I need something a bit warmer. How's it going to wear? You know, when you're pulling at it and you're pushing up the sleeves, pulling down the sleeves, tucking it in, pulling it out, it's getting caught on stuff, all that kind of stuff. So this is good. It's just that as it's being worn, it's being squooshed down. So I just wish it was a tiny bit longer, even though I like the length of it. I just wish it was a little bit, because you see how it just kind of comes down That's why I want it just a little bit longer. And like I said, I would cast on down here in the future, and then I would knit up to do a really stretchy, stable, strong cast off instead. So I would just do those two things differently. From there, you increase out for for a lot of positive ease. I tend to go this way when I'm trying to explain things because it's just habit after all of these years, but it might be easier to see on this side, but I'll try and explain on this side. Let me get my hair out of the way. So you do a raglan increase all the way down. So it's a lot of increasing. I got about halfway through and I was kind of questioning my will to live, but I was also kind of questioning my, like, do I want it this baggy? Like, do I want all of this? Like, it's meant to be sort of a capelet style pullover. Do I want to sort of trust the process and go all the way down and do all of the increases? However, I really liked the look of this sweater in the store. It was a sample and I was knitting off of the sample, which I very rarely do, but I just really liked it and I wanted something to keep my hands busy. I can't remember what I had finished knitting right before this, but it was complicated stuff and I just wanted a brainless, mindless knit. It's knit on 6mm needles, or sorry, 5.5mm needles, US size 9s. So it's a fast knit. This up here is knit on 4.5mm or US size 6. US size 7. So US size 7 for the ribbing and US size 9 for the body. 4.5mm and 5.5mm. So I went with the pattern and I didn't make any modifications. The only thing that I would do, yeah, Snow Crocus came after. After that, when you divide for the body and the sleeves, the body is really short. I'll show it to you guys in just a second. The sleeve, however, is also quite short. I would lengthen the sleeve in hindsight because as soon as you move your arm, the sleeves pop up. So I'm constantly pulling at the sleeves to pull them back down, which is causing a lot of wear on the fabric because the fabric is quite gauzy and open. I would use this yarn again. It's Garn Studio Drops Air. It's a chainette type yarn and it's not holding its shape particularly well. It doesn't look really super really super nice, but it's just loungy and it's fun to wear and it's comfy and I can throw something on underneath and it doesn't matter. And then so I would lengthen the sleeves. I would bring the sleeves down to full length. So I can't remember how long you're supposed to knit your sleeves, but I would add at least another 3 to 4 inches and I would make this quite a bit longer to make it more structurally stable. And then in terms of the length of the sweater, I think if it was any longer, I tend to wear my stuff quite long. I like longer things and then I tend to tuck it in. But if I were to make it longer, I think it would just make it look really like boxy and oversized and it wouldn't be anywhere for the eye to go. So I wouldn't make it any longer. The ribbing, the twisted ribbing and the amount of it was a lot. That was hard. But I maybe would have lengthened it slightly in here because every time you move your arms, the sweater lifts up quite a lot. So I think I maybe would have added like maybe an inch longer to the body. I had enough yarn, but you don't know with this type of style, you don't know what you don't know. So, and like I said, I wear it a lot. So none of this is stuff that's that bad because I wear it. Whereas Snow Crocus, for those of you who followed the show for quite a while, I have not worn that yet. And I think part of it is because it's actually quite heavy. So it's only Cascade 220 held with Kid Silk Mohair, Kid Silk yarn, but it's heavy. It's really dense. And I didn't knit it as open as the pattern calls for because the neck was already so boat necked. I didn't want it to be even bigger, but holy smokes, that sweater is heavy. So I will report back as the weather changes and we go into the fall. I probably will end up wearing it, but or I will wear it. It's just, I think as we get into warmer weather, right now it's too warm. But this is kind of perfect. It's a good in between. I wore it this morning to go drop the kids off at school and I didn't wear anything over top. I didn't wear a jacket or a vest or anything like that. So yeah. I do have more yarn to make adjustments. I actually have another ball and I could lengthen the arms. Like I could just keep on ribbing. The yarn, I can't rip it out. I tried. The yarn is knotted. Like it's it's fulled. And it's not from washing, it's just from like wearing. Like the yarn is so fuzzy, and it's that chainette, and it just, I can't rip it out. I'll ruin it. So that's okay. It's good. Rebecca, you're cracking me up. She says, you mean showing off your midriff whenever reaching for something high isn't a design feature? That's part of the reason why I tuck things in. Because no, it's not. Especially after you've had kids, or at least for me. I was thinking about knitting the neck and the collar of the Turtledove too afterwards for the same reasons. I would do that, Christine. If I were to do it again, I would cast on down here and then knit the turtleneck afterward. It would just give the sweater a little bit more stability, but you guys also know how I feel about some of these top downs. I feel the same thing about my Gentle Morning that I knit years ago. There's just not enough stability in the seams when you don't have some of those cast on and cast off edges, or some of those seamed edges. They just really help. They really help. So yeah, Eve says maybe in your teens, having your midriff show off. You know, it's funny. I was never one of those kids that wanted to show my midriff. I was never slim enough because I was so muscular from swimming. So yeah, random. All right, let's find out what we're supposed to be talking about next, because I did not expect to talk about that for so long, but it's kind of fun to reflect back. It's a little bit like sweater reflections, which we haven't done for a while. It's kind of fun to reflect back and talk about some of the older stuff. I would make this again in my hand spun. I have some yarns in my stash that would work really super well, and I would just make a couple of adjustments. So I would definitely knit this again. All right, with that, let's get into the intro credit and intro credits, and let me tell you about what I've been working on the last couple weeks. It's not a ton, but it's been enjoyable. So let's do that next. A thank you to our sponsor, Brother Drum Carder. They are dedicated to giving you the very best of carding products with a focus on quality, affordability, and customer satisfaction. They are beginning to build mill processing equipment, so please stay tuned. Be sure to check out the new products on their website and follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Brother Drum Carder. I love the chat that's going on right now. I can't read it all out because it's funny. I was thinking, I wanted to ask you guys about the intro credits. They've always been quite long on this show, and I've been thinking about shortening them up, and I wanted to know from you guys what you thought. I don't know if you use the intro credits to run off and grab something to drink, or like run to the washroom or whatever. I know I used to when I watch other people's shows, or you can kind of catch up on chat during that time. But yeah, the intro credits, I have thought about shortening them up. So I was wondering what you guys thought about that, and if you had any strong opinions one way or the other. In terms of things to chat about, I'm going to ask you guys what you want to talk about first, because I do have a finished object in the background here to share with you guys. I have not made any significant progress on my spindling project. So I did finish spinning. I had made 3 initial row legs on my Hello Yarn spin in Falkland. I've just taken the braid, working from one end to the other, just making row legs. And I got the first 3 spun, and then I made another 3, and I got 2 of the 3 spun. So I have made a little bit of progress, but not a ton. I mentioned last show that James is absolutely drowning in schoolwork this semester, and so this term, and he is almost finished. He's got about 3 more weeks to go. He has a bajillion projects to complete. It's absolutely ridiculous. I could go on about this for hours and hours and hours. The only good thing about it for parents out there who are like at this point in the school year that are kind of struggling, I'm going to put a little bit of an encouragement out there for you guys. We've known for a really long time that James has difficulty with some of his letters and some of his sounds and stuff, and it's been really hard to put our finger on like what exactly it is. And even when he's tested at school in the past, nothing's come back as being, you know, sort of a red flag or even a yellow flag. But now as the work has gotten harder and it's such high volume and he gets fatigued, I have finally been able to pinpoint exactly what it is that he's doing. That when he it's almost kind of like when he lets his guard down, I can actually pinpoint now and say that is what he's doing. And I've never been able to articulate it before because I couldn't catch it consistently enough, and it was so minor, but I knew there was something. And his literacy tutor, who he's worked with since grade 2, same thing. She's like, there's something with his letters and sounds. We finally have sort of been able to like start to like lead the cart in the right direction to start to figure out what it is that's going on. I totally agree, Lisa. He should not. This is like such poor planning and such poor management on his teacher's part. It is ridiculous. So we haven't told James this, but we've just taken the pressure right off of him. So he's noticed that. But I told his teacher, we'll do what we can, and what doesn't get done, doesn't get done. And so we're just being very selective about what we're giving him and what we're doing, because it's just too much. You can't not do anything for the first 2 terms and then expect it all to be done in the third. It's ridiculous. That's my little rant for today, my little soapbox. So sitting, helping him with some of his stuff and really trying to like pinpoint what it is that's going on in his little brain, or his big brain. I can't sit there and spindle spin because I've been really trying to pay attention to like, okay, what is it that he's doing? So an example would be he was navigating to his email for school, and he said, oh, do I click on this one, Lookout? And I was like, no, that's Outlook. So it's finally like catching it, going, that's what he's doing. That's what it is. So really great. And whatever we can do to support him, especially as we stare down the barrel at high school. So that's my spindling. I am working on it. I am getting there. It's just going to be really slow. And I'm loving the colorway. I know people had mentioned last show about how much they love the colorway. I don't know if I still have a photo of it, but for those who missed last show, this is the colorway. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love it. I just think this colorway is something else. So this is from Hello Yarn. It's called Village Feta. And I'm just going to work my way through the braid from one end to the other, and I'm pretty sure that I'll do a center pull ball. I had talked about last show not being totally sure whether I would spin sort of a third, put that on a storage bobbin, spin another third, put that on a storage bobbin. I'll see. It's going so slow, it doesn't really matter. All right, so let's talk about, so that's spindling. I didn't even play the little thumbnail because it's just so insignificant. Let's talk about, it's kind of taking up a lot of space here. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about spinning first. It's not great. It's not great. Oh, thanks you guys. So fete is pronounced fate. Thank you so much. So Village Fate. Thank you. Oh, Dion. Yes. So my best friend's daughter, same. She does it with numbers as well. What James is doing with words, I do with numbers. That's what my best friend's daughter does as well. And so she has what's called dyscalculia. And now that they know, and they've been able to really help her in school, she's doing really well, and her confidence has come up, and it's been wonderful. So yeah, I'm glad. I'm always heartened when I hear that people have kind of figured things out. So this is my most recent installment of that I grabbed from my stash from Longway Homestead, and I'm going to preface this with I only have 4 more to go out of the 12. I've talked a lot about the Longway Homestead fiber subscription club thing, so I'm not going to wax poetic about it today because I've talked about it a lot. And actually, I'm a little bit worried about my voice today. I am feeling like it's a bit on the edge, so I want to make sure that I get through the things that I wanted to share with you guys. And so this is Corriedale, and yeah, I was so excited about this. I saved it. I wanted to really savor this one. I really was looking forward to it. It's really, really soft. It's more than next to the skin soft. Corriedale is one of my favorite breeds. For anybody who is curious, Corriedale is one of my favorites. I think it doesn't get enough positive attention. I think it's kind of written off as like a beginner spinner's breed, and I just don't agree with that at all. When I went to start working with it, and I think I talked about this a little bit on the show last time, but I might not have because I wasn't sure what I was going to say. It is absolutely, have a look in there. It is absolutely chock full of neps. The entire thing is neps. It's the whole thing. You can see it all through there. It's very short. It got chewed up when it got pin drafted, and you can actually see this is a really good, it's all, what if I show you against a black background? Black. Do I have anything black? Ooh. James's clipboard for school. He put Squishmallow stickers all over it. For anybody who knows what Squishmallows are, this will help. There you go. Now you can see them. The whole thing is neps. So this has been a very, very frustrating spin. I was fully, I will absolutely admit, I was expecting this to be done today. I thought I would have it spun. I thought I would have a finished Longway Homestead to share with you guys, and that I would be on to the 9th. This is the 8th. I have finished the first bobbin. It was painful. It looks okay on the bobbin, but it's just the whole thing is just neps. You can also see there's a lot of VM in it. It's not as bad as the Targi, but I'm struggling with this one. I am struggling, and I had put the pin drafted roving. I had divided it in half, just to try to deal with it a little bit. I had taken the pin drafted roving and I had divided it in half, and then I had dizzed it off my hand card just to see if it would help, and maybe it would kind of, work some of that stuff out. I actually think it made it worse in some ways, so I'm not going to do that with the second half. I'm just going to spin it because at this point I don't care. The reason why I think it actually made it worse is because well, let me put it this way. I don't think that it helped. I think the reason why it made it worse is because it dizzed the fibers out even thinner. And so it almost kind of gave me even less to work with, even less to deal with, because it was almost like the neps were even, like there was even more of them, even though I hadn't created them. It's hard to explain. It just didn't help. It didn't fix anything. So why do it for the second half of the spin? Yes, I hear the argument that, oh, but then it'll be consistent and you'll have the same prep as you spun for the first half and the 2 singles and blah, blah. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference, to be honest with you. I think this yarn is going to get plied and it's going to get washed, and I'm going to put it in my stash, and I don't know what'll happen with it. It's just, the thing is that I suspect that the original fleece was probably a bit too fine to go through the pin drafter. And it's just left a really subpar, resulting prep. And it's disheartening. It's really I was so excited about this one. It's one of those like situations of like misaligned expectations, yeah. And so I know there's this saying that I always come back to about expectations. Expectations are planned disappointments. And I was so excited about this spin, and I was excited to get into it. And Dion had sent me some lamb's fleece of Corriedale that I've got in my stash, that I was going to spin. Hopefully this summer I'll get it out and work with it. And now I'm even more excited for that, because it just makes me feel like, that it's still one of my favorite breeds. It's just really too bad that this particular prep in this particular situation at this particular time ended up being really lackluster. It's just really too bad. So I will power through. Hopefully next show I'll have it finished and I can show you guys. I am wondering if some of this will kind of come out in the washing, because I'll have to ply it a little bit tighter because of all those neps and stuff. But I do wonder if some of it will kind of even out in the spinning, and it'll be fine once it gets plied, but I'm not holding my breath. I think it's gonna be like the Targi. It's gonna be very, very kind of wah-wah. Really too bad. So yeah, there are some beautiful, beautiful Corriedale fleeces and stuff out there. And I think this probably was beautiful fleece because it feels lovely. I think it just, unfortunately in this situation, it has been a bit chewed up a little bit, which is really too bad. So I'm not going to go on and on about it. I want to move on to other things, but it's just really too bad. I just realized that one of my projects that I wanted to share with you today is not in here. And now I'm wondering, if it's not here, where is it? So we'll have to talk about it next time. But I did start, if we go over here, I will share with you guys the yarn. Do you remember my Kainu Harma that I was working on forever? I know you guys were getting so annoyed with me not being able to pronounce stuff and not being able to say the names. It's a rare Finn breed. I had worked on this for a long time. I had processed this yarn over the course of a very long time. And this is going to cover me up for just a minute. And I had spun all of this, and actually I had a really interesting conversation with Amanda Buckley about it, because after it was finished, and I had lock popped most of it, and I had carded it all up, and I created all these bats, and then I did the little samples swatch, which I had shared with you guys in a previous episode. And Amanda and I were chatting about how these sort of Scandinavian breeds, some of them like Haraya, this particular type of Finn, some of the other ones that she's had experience with while she was living in Sweden, she's like, they all just kind of look similar. Like once you have them spun up and plied and finished, they just kind of have a look to them. And the fabric has kind of a look. And I had reflected on seeing that myself in some of the swatches that I've seen. If you look in the Fleece and Fiber source book, they have a certain look to them. And the yarn just kind of has a certain look to it. And it's very soft. It's lovely to work with. And I really, really am really enjoying, I really enjoyed knitting up the swatch, and I wanted to go on and knit something and make something right away out of it. And so what I did was I actually chose, keep skipping, I'm sorry you guys. So this is actually the Moon Set Tee, and it's also by Ozetta or Haley Smedley. This is the same designer that did the Field Day cardigan that I did my capstone out of for the triad study that I wanted to sort of do. I had made that triad yarn. It was equal parts red, yellow, and blue. I added white to it to make it a tint, and then I plied it with some other singles that I had in my stash to make this overall marled yarn. This sweater itself fits beautifully. I really, really like the style of it. I like how she did the short rows at the back to shape the back neck. And I just kind of thought, why stop at why stop? Like, why fight with a good thing? So I swatched for a sort of a t-shirt type pattern. Like, that was kind of what was brewing in the back of my mind, was sort of something I could wear, spring, summer, and fall, maybe throw a cardigan over top. I just sort of had this idea of sort of this t-shirt type idea with that fin. And so when I swatched for it, my gauge is actually a bit bigger. And so I sized down the needles compared to the pattern. And honestly, you guys, I'm not actually sure what my needle size is in the end. Does anybody know what a 3mm needle translates into? Yeah, 2.5 US. So I ended up going from, I swatched with a 3.75mm. I'm not sure what that is in US sizing. I'm so sorry, you guys. And then I went to a 3.5mm, which I think is a US size 3. And the fabric still could have gone a little bit tighter. I still could have sized down a little bit. And so I went down to a 3mm, and I've started, and my gauge is still a little bit bigger than the gauge in the pattern. So I chose my size based on that, and I cast on. So it's in the other room. I guess I didn't bring that particular knitting bag in here, but that I did cast that on, and I'm really enjoying it. And after doing all of that spinning, and after that, all of that fiber prep to make that yarn, because this was like, you know, it was a lot of spinning. This took a lot of spinning. And it was so enjoyable, but it took a long time. I'm really excited to turn it into something that I'll really wear. That'll be a staple, kind of like this, where it's a throw on, tuck it into a pair of jeans and go. That was really my goal with this. So, that's my big cast on for the last couple of weeks was this project. All right, let's talk. Actually, I'll leave this up. Let's talk about some other cast-ons that I did this week, because it's quite hilarious and I'm excited to share it with you guys. Oh, thank you, Christine. She put all of the US conversions and metric conversions for all of the needle sizes. So thank you for throwing that in. So let's talk a little bit more about knitting. I kind of went into you know, fiber prep, spinning, and prepping for moonset tea. Moonset tea, yeah. But let's kind of go into knitting. And I wish this could say crochet instead of knitting, but let's do that, and I'll take a sip of water. I wanted to mention too, the one thing I am doing with the fin is I am alternating it every row. So because if you look at the skeins here, I should have talked about this already. I'm sorry, you guys. If you look at the skeins laid out here, you see how they're all like ever so slightly different. And it's just because of different parts of the fleece got plied with different parts of the fleece. I didn't card it all at the same time. I worked through it sporadically, and I also, you know, I didn't necessarily card it all the same number of times. So I wound 2 of the skeins, one to use for swatching, and then the rest of that one and another one, I'm alternating them. So 1 row of one color, it actually works out to 2 rows. 2 rows of one color, 2 rows of another, 2 rows of another, because these skeins are all a little bit different. And I've made that mistake of not doing that so many times. I am so done not making that mistake anymore. So no, I am doing every row because I'm just pushing the stitches back and going across. So I am holding, I'm alternating rows, so it'll be nice and blended, and there won't be any obvious areas that are, you know, one skein is like one color and then another color, and no more color blocking. All right, I'm gonna go to the big camera for just a minute. Well, actually, yeah, I'll go to the big camera. Okay. Nora has a project that she has to do for school, and I kind of read the requirements and stuff, and I was just like, so it's learn a new skill. They've got the entire term to work on it. It's fine. It just kind of felt like in a year that's been really tumultuous for her that it was like one more thing. And she ended up really embracing it when we read the requirements. It had been introduced to them in class. She kind of had an idea. And she said, you know, I really want to learn how to crochet. And she's kind of dabbled in it a little bit, and she's played with it a little bit with my mom. But she hasn't done a ton of it. And so she's got a blanket going. For those who are at Knots and Hops on the last one that we had in April, they would have seen her working on it. And she's been pretty good about doing a row here or there, but I don't think it's ever going to get done. But she's enjoying it. So she really wanted to do that. And one of the things about the project that she has to do is document her learning process, and not talk about the learning itself, but just document like who helped you, when did you work on it, how long did you work on it, you know, who was your mentor, that kind of stuff. And I think the mentor is not supposed to be the parent. I kind of got that impression from the way that it was all discussed. So she rated my yarn stash, and I did have to say no to a few things because there were stuff that I was saving for other projects. But we looked up some patterns and she went on, I got her all set up and I cast it to our TV. She got all set up with Charlotte Lee's class on the School of Sweet Georgia, the Learn to Crochet classes. So she worked her way through all of them, and some of them were just way above her head. Like she just wasn't, like the increases and decreases one. She was watching it, but I think it was just going in one ear and out the other. And she's been so excited about it. So what we did, and talk about kismet, you guys, like it all kind of happened at like right at the right time. She started working on some granny squares, because there's a whole granny squares course on the School of Sweet Georgia that Charlotte does, and it's really straightforward and it's really easy. She shows you how to do the magic loop, and she shows you how to build your first row and all that kind of stuff. So Nora had made a couple of granny squares and she really, really liked them. And she really wanted to make a sweater. And I'm not surprised. It's because she sees me making them, right? So she's like, obviously, yarn equals sweater. And it was really interesting because literally earlier that same week and that same, like within like a day or two, Tanis LaValle published this pattern. It's straight out of the 70s. I just love it. It's even photographed with platforms. She's wearing platform shoes. It was just like perfect. So Nora, and the funny thing is that I had seen the pattern on Ravelry. I had already bought it and downloaded it. And then people in the Slack channel started talking about it. So somebody posted in random about it. Somebody posted in the handspun handspun sweater channel, and then somebody posted just a couple of days ago, and it's actually in our community participation today, I think. I hope I put it in there. She posted in the general channel her like progress. So Nora has been madly making squares, and they're so cute. So here are some of them. I'll try and show you guys as many as I can. So her main color for the cardigan, I'm not sure why it's showing you guys all, why I ended up showing you all of the ones with this color, this gray kind of color, gray-white. She's got all these squares that she's been making, and yes, I have been helping her because she has to make 36. So I have been helping her. She really struggles with starting them and doing the magic circle. And so I have been helping her with that and getting it started for her, because she'll never get this done otherwise. It has to be finished by the beginning of June. And so here's some more of them. And she's just like really doing well with her colors, and she's getting faster. And then if you notice on the original pattern here, I took it down. But you see how Tanis has used that kind of gray, light gray. It borders. You attach all of them with an as you go method. And so the way that we're going to do it is we'll lay out all of her squares. She'll figure out where she wants to put them, and then I'll help her to attach them all, because it's all crocheted. So we did have to buy some yarn to do that, because I don't have enough in my stash for all of that connecting that needs to happen. So she chose this color here, this kind of white gray. So she has 3 skeins of that. It's Superwash Merino, Cascade 220 Superwash Merino. And and I'll help her with that. We'll get them all laid out. I'll get her going and get her all set up to make to connect them all. And then for school, I told her that we didn't have time to put the sleeves on, that I couldn't do all of that knitting and have it done for school. These are the last few. I'll show them while I'm chatting. She doesn't have, there's not enough time between now and then for me to knit the sleeves, and she really wants sleeves. But I told her I will put them on after she finishes, like after she sort of has the final project and gets to show it at school. So I told her that I would knit the button band and the bottom ribbing, because her project is to learn to crochet, not learn to knit. So I told her that, you know, I would do that for her, because she picked this and she was so excited. And I didn't want to, like, you know, no, I'm not doing that for you. So I told her I would do the ribbing for her, and then we just she just has to finish her squares. So guess how many squares she's already made. She needs 36. Guess how many she's already done. I'm actually really impressed. She started working on this about halfway through April. So she's been working on it like for a good 2.5, almost 3 weeks. Yes. Oh my gosh, Pauline, you're absolutely right. Yeah, she's finished 24. And I've been weaving in the ends for her. So every time she finishes a square, I'm leaving this to weave in at the end, because when you join as you go, there's a really easy way to weave these in afterward. But I've been weaving in all of her ends for her. But yeah, she's already done 24. And we've been doing about 4 or 5 a day, just taking the pressure off, like just, whatever you get done, I sit with her and she's making them, and she's doing really well. So that ended up leading into, she's like, well, you can't make all my squares for me, because like I've been helping her start them. Oh, that's so great, Lisa. Her husband guessed right from the other room. So because I'm quite a bit faster than her in terms of crochet, and because, of my knitting and just how easy it is for me to hold the yarn and stuff, she wanted me to start making one too. So she wanted to have matching sweaters. So I went through my stash and I found all of my breed, from all of the yarns that I had from my breed, my sheep workshop. I'm at a loss for words. Sheep breeds workshop from School of Sweet Georgia. I'm just finding the, is this it? Yes. So there's kits, and we spun all of these on the podcast. So we did Merino, Rambouillet, Finn, all of the fine wools, and then we did Wensleydale, Gotland, and Romney. And then all of the downs and the down-like wools, we did Suffolk, Charolais, and Cheviot. And then the primitives, or the double coats. And that was the Icelandic, the Jacob, and the Shetland. And so we did all of these on the podcast over the course of time, while I was getting this, the workshop itself ready to film with School of Sweet Georgia. And so I had all of these yarns ready to go. This is Suffolk here, this gray one. So I went through my stash and I found they were all mostly together, and there were a few that I eliminated because they're too much like the merino. So this is the merino, and it's white, it's bouncy, it's not, I didn't want to have too many of this same one in the project. So I only have this, and I pulled out, this is an Icelandic cross that wasn't part of the sheep breeds, but it has just a beautiful ivory color. It's just gorgeous. And so I pulled that one out, and then I pulled this other one out that's a little bit, they're different colors. This is Cheviot, and this is the merino. And so they're just a little bit different. Actually, if you put these three in order, these three are almost like a fade almost. This isn't reading as ivory as it is. It's actually very ivory. It's the perfect middle to these two. And then I eliminated most of the other white ones. This is leftover black-faced badger black, how do you say it? Badger-faced Welsh that was from Sam that I used for my Dama toque. This was what was left over, and it's got all these different natural colors in it, so I thought that was perfect. This is my CVM spin that I used for, no, this isn't, yes, it is CVM, but it was blended with Tussa Silk by Catherine of Small Bird Workshop. And I had this left from trying to knit a sweater years ago that just didn't work, and a bunch of this yarn ended up being thrown out because it just got ruined. And that was a long time ago now. So this one has been really great to use. And then I have this Shetland from years ago that I spun and never used. This is from years ago, like 2014 maybe. It was one of the first things that I spun when I first came back to spinning. And then I found my Disdero Ranch Romney Mohair blend. That's this one here. That's kind of the grayish one that I used to knit my Albini, which actually I have to do a repair on my Albini. So I keep meaning to pull that out and make sure that I fix it before I keep going. And this is my leftover Frisian. I have another skein of this. This was that black Frisian that was that fleece that I spun several years ago, and I knit a cardigan out of, which actually I still wear. I really like that cardigan. I should probably bring it onto the show and talk about it. And then I've been working on my squares. So I actually have some photos of my squares. So I thought I would show you the photos instead. Sometimes it's really hard to show you guys stuff on like under the camera, because I have to like set it all up and try to fix it. So these are all of the yarns from the sheep breeds. But where are my photos that I had for you guys? Oh no, where are they? I had all these photos to show you guys. Let me show you. It only takes a second to cue them all up, like we did earlier for whatever else we've been talking about. That's kind of where my brain is at today, you guys, honestly. Oh, it's been we had a bit of a crazy weekend because of a few things that are going on. So these are all my squares. So I've actually finished 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16 squares so far. So I'm done 16 squares. I added a few after these photos were taken. And I did decide to do every natural shade that I chose. I also decided to do an entire solid square of that to really showcase, so that I could say, oh, that was Cheviot, that was Merino, that was Frisian, this was Badger Faced Welsh. I wanted to have them, like, I wanted to have one square that was like a tribute to each of the breeds that I included in the sweaters, so that I could look at the sweater in the future and be like, oh yeah, that was that, that was that, that was that. And I'm keeping track of which one is which, so that in the future I'll know, like, oh yeah, the bright white was the Merino, the ivory was the Icelandic cross. So some of these have turned out really super well. Some of them I think are a little bit, like this one here is a really good example. So it's a bit low contrast between the black faced and the outside, which is the gray Suffolk. But it still works, like it's still really cute. And there was a big yarn sale at my, what is now my only local yarn shop, which is how Nora got her yarn for her Jethro. We got it for like, it was marked down to something like $5 a skein for her, which was perfect for a school project. So this whitey gray one was on sale. I did get a natural undyed 100% wool Patagonia. It was a Patagonia wools, for those who know about her. About that yarn. It's an undyed, but it's got some like dark gray mixed into it, so it's not completely flat white. It's a little bit like this, but less so. Kind of more like what it's like on the outside here. And I thought that would work really well to tie it all together, because I don't have the yardage in my stash to attach all the squares and do all the ribbing and do the sleeves. So it was a little bit of self-preservation to not put that pressure on myself to also then have to spin a huge amount, because I've got other projects that I want to work on. There's other things that I want to do. So yeah, it's really great to do it together. Diana says you're doing a CAL together, CAL, crochet along. It's very cool. It is really fun. If anybody wants to join in with us, there are people in the community that are making it as well. I know for sure Mary Jo is doing it. She posted in the on the Slack channel the other day about her progress. She's using blue and orange as complements, and it just looks awesome. So if anybody's keen, the squares are super fast. The pattern is really, has very good explanations about how big to make your squares. If you notice with mine, I've got 4 rows of granny squares, whereas Nora only has 3 rows, and that's for the difference in sizing. So hers are a little bit smaller than mine, not a lot, but a little bit smaller. Mine are about a 1/2 inch bigger than hers. And then with the row on the outside of your solid color that ties it all together, that sort of gives you the sizing that you need. And you can always add more rows if it's not coming together as like big enough, basically, which is always in the back of my head. Like you could always add another row to the entire cardigan if you needed to, if it wasn't quite big enough. It's super easy to modify. So it's been really fun to make it. I'm really, really enjoying it. It's been exactly what I needed with everything kind of going on, because with the spindling and with this project, I can just sit and make one, and it's not a big deal if that's all I can do, which is kind of perfect. So that's it. Dion says, I have nightmares about granny squares. It was my first crochet blanket. It's funny, actually, I've never done one. I started one. It was called the Love Actually, and I ripped it out and made those double weave blankets, but I've never actually done an entire like project of crochet, other than a couple of toques. So I'm really enjoying this a lot. It's a different way to move my hand. It's a different way of using the muscles. It's been a nice break. So, and then with the moon set tee, the two of them together, it's just no pressure. It's really nice. Yeah. Lisa says, oh, I can't wait to see the picky of you two in your matching jumpers. Me too. I'm excited once I get her sleeves done. Yeah, crochet is hard, Eveline. Everybody says, oh, crochet is so easy. It's so easy. It is to a point. If you only chain and you just like make a big square, it is. But when you have to start counting and you've got to start paying attention and attaching new color so that her tension is right, and you know, it's been really good for her. Really good for her. All right, let's get into community participation because I am losing my voice. All right. I always enjoy this part of the show. I hope you guys do too. That's why I keep doing it. I just love being able to celebrate what you guys are working on and what you're making. So as you guys know, Andrew Mowry's been doing the 100 Days of Long Draw on Instagram. It's actually part of the reason why I kept going with the Corriedale, even though it's been such a wah-wah project, because I was just long drawing every day. I never said that when I was talking about the Corriedale. I've been long drawing it. I never said, and so it's kind of kept me going and it's kept me working on it. So, which is great. That's the whole point. So, this is from Tashi. Spindles spun Corriedale. Oh, I divided this braid into 6 sections. I carded each piece into row legs using my hand cards, and then I wound the singles into a 3-ply plying ball for ease. I got 425 yards of 3-ply yarn, and it is just so airy, lofty, and dreamy. It looks amazing, Tashi. Really well done. Really well done. I hope you had a great time this weekend. I think she went to Maryland Sheep and Wool, I think. It sounds like those of you who were able to go had a great time, and I'm so jealous. This is from Dania. Process some, is it Hanui? Is that how you say it? Hanui? I actually have some that I got from Megan of Bramble Ridge that is going to be a combo spin, and I'm excited to share that with you guys once I get through this Corriedale. So Dania processed blended top into gradient roll legs and then a gradient bat and spun them up on her spindles. The fiber is by far one of my favorites. And Dania, your spindles look amazing. Just beautiful. I can't wait to see this finished. All right, general makes and shares. This is kind of all the stuff that goes on in the Slack channel, all the stuff that you guys have working on. These skeins, Sue, you did such a beautiful job. 3 lovely skeins finished recently. One is an outlier, the plum yellow. The plum cream and yellow is a gradient. Not sure what I will use that for. It's about a sport weight. The other 2 are part of my spin for Andrea Mowry's tessellated vest. Pictured here with the previously spun. Oh yeah, I didn't include that. But yeah, beautiful spinning, Sue. Beautiful spinning. This is from Dion. We got into this conversation in, I did a recent workshop for the Sheep Spotters Guild, and it was about combo drafting, and I included information about how to do a combo spin, how to do combo plying, but the main focus was on combo drafting. But in the Q&A afterwards, we kind of got into this conversation about like desaturating color and how it's really actually quite difficult to sort of ruin or wreck color. And I actually used Dion's photos, and I gave you credit, Dion, to show them like, hey, look, like, you know, out of my community, I screen shared, and I said like, this is from my community, and like, look at these colors. They started off as neon neon. This is from Bramble Ridge from Megan. It was Polworth. And Dion did it as a 3-ply. And yeah, like the color just comes right down and it's beautiful and it's so subtle in some ways, but it's still bright and it's still vibrant and it still has that sense of movement and depth and texture, but it's not screaming at you. You know, your eye has somewhere to go because the pink just ties everything together. So really beautiful, 576 yards. And she combined, I think it was, Dion, it was 2 braids, I think, that she combined to create this. Amazing. This is from Rebecca. She was finishing up some spinning from the wool circle before she left on her trip. And she got through this mini epic spin before they left. She did this all spun over the fold. 50-50 yak silk for a lace weight. It's around 800 yards and just beautiful, beautiful spin. This is from Shauna. Again, desaturation of color. Look at these 2 socks. Incredible. This is a great color study and goes beautifully with Dion's study here of these 2 braids. It was 2 braids. Shauna here did socks were knit toe up using sockmation. I cannot say that word. It's meant to be like mathematicians, sockomatician, toe up pattern. The heels, toes, and cuffs were knit pick stroll in pickle juice and pucker. I struggled to knit these as I found I needed to knit continental to keep my hand spun from unplying. That definitely sometimes happens. When I cable yarns and I finish up with a Z spun yarn, I will often unply it while I'm knitting. So I really need my yarns to be spun S. Future experiments where I spin and ply in opposite directions need to happen so that I can see if it works better for my flicking style of knitting. Regardless, I love regardless of how long they took, I love how they, I absolutely love them. Isn't it amazing how different the plying technique makes for the final yarn? Do you have a favorite? I do. I don't know which one is her favorite, but and I'm not sure if the one that's on our left, I'm not sure if that one is a fractal or not, or if it's just a traditional 3-ply and then the other one was chain plied. I'm not totally sure, but man, that one for me is with the pink cuff is just beautiful. Gorgeous, Shauna. I love this so much. And I want to know from you guys, which ones do you prefer, the pink cuff or the green cuff? This is from Suzanne. Some of you have seen me steadily working on fiber prep for a Jacob fleece that I purchased almost a year ago. I originally sorted it into 3 colors and I've shared photos of it before this. Suzanne's been working on this for quite a while and it's part of a bigger project. But now here are all 3 colors spun into separate skeins and she just needs to prep and spin until each of the sorted colors is complete with a goal of a half hap shawl. Beautiful. Oh, it's so funny. I'm going to go back to the neon for a minute. It's so funny because all of you have said, except for 2 of you, you guys all said that you preferred the neon one, the chain plied one. And then Dion says she loves both, which Dion loves color, so I'm not surprised. And Rebecca said she likes the pair of them together. They're so complimentary. Yeah. I did socks like this for the book for Unbraided when Katrina and I wrote that. And I did it with a colorway from Nest called Fiddlesticks, Nest Fiber Arts. And one of them was fractal and one of them was chain plied. And it was just an exercise to show people like how the colors work up differently. And I preferred the one that was not chain plied, that was more interesting, that had more movement, more texture, that was the fractal. But other people preferred the chain ply because they want the color to stay clean. And it's not right or wrong, it's just different tastes. I love that. This is from Paulina. So she's been doing a whole bunch of sampling. So she went through all of the drafts with this. She's been sampling some different drafts. It's all 9 to 10 grams, 2-ply. It's all comb top from John Arbin, a blend of Cotswold, Romney, and Exmoor Blue Faced. From left to right, so the one that's closest to me over here is a long draw, and she did this on the blending board, and then she made a row leg, but she says it's underplied, and you can see that in the skein. The second one, which is my favorite, is the continuous back, and you can see that that skein is just a gorgeous skein. She did 2 drafts per treadle, and over 12 inches in a ratio of 5:1. And then the next one was from the fold off the tip. The one after that is from the fold off the top. So that's where you're drafting off the tip of your finger versus off the top of your finger. And then the final one that's the most consistent of all of them is the short forward. It's nice to see the differences between the samples. Not sure which I like best, but I do enjoy spinning from the fold off the tip. Huge difference in yardage between the samples. Number 5 is 14. Number 5 is 14. Number 1 and number 2 are 21 meters. So it sounds like she was kind of all over the place, even though it was the same amount of fiber, which is really interesting. The photo of the swatches will follow. They're still drying, and then I grabbed them later when she posted them. So these are all of the swatches, and it was really interesting because in spinning staples, I had to fill in for Rebecca because she was really sick, which was such a pleasure to see everybody. She reflected in the group that her swatches didn't come out they were a little bit different than what she had expected, and some of them had sort of a lack of elasticity. Other ones were a little bit different. It wasn't quite what she thought, which is really cool. That's the reason why we sample and why we learn. And then of course the next thing that she wants to try is 3-ply. This is from Eveline. I love this so much. I love how this turned out, Eveline. Finished summer t-shirt from a fractal spin. I shared this yarn with you guys back when she first finished the spin. The pattern is Uptown Tea, and I made the smallest size but smuggled in some extra stitches in the front raglan as a bust adjustment. I decreased them away later, and the pattern is intended to be more oversized than I like on myself. I find some of that oversized stuff is kind of like this. I find I'm just constantly pulling at it. It's just too much fabric. Not because I don't think that it's often not flattering, because it often is very flattering. It's a lot of fabric. Almost no leftovers. There would have been enough to knit one more round, but not more. I love how the optical blending is making all kinds of golds and greens that weren't really present in the braid at first. Amazing, Eveline. I love this so much. This is from Robin from the Ravelry group. Hand spun, very, very rustic local fleece and hand dyed as well. So you can see there's a photo of the original fleece in the top corner there. She named the colors after all the springtime shades in the forest near where she lives on the coast of British Columbia. Robin is local to me. Young sword fern, lichen on cedar, alderbark, salmonberry blossom, Sitka spruce, and loam. And I'm not sure if this is a pattern that Robin drafted herself. I wouldn't be surprised. But beautiful sweater, Robin. And talk about making lemonade out of lemons. Just beautiful. Love that. Thanks, you guys, for sharing everything that you do and for all the making that you do and all the wonderful things that you bring to our community. I really literally could not do it without you. There is no way, given just how much it is to run a community and to do these things and to keep it going. I couldn't do it without you guys. So I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. From the very, very bottom of my toes. I hope you all have a wonderful couple of weeks. We'll be back here this time next week to do the wool circle with Rebecca, and she'll be talking about spinning singles like I mentioned earlier in the show. I feel like she also talks a little bit about what to expect in the next sort of batch of stuff that we're studying, but I can't remember. I've already edited the episode. I'm just trying to remember what all I remember hearing. It's been a bit of a blur, you guys, a bit of a blur. Anyhow, until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful couple of weeks. I will talk to you same time, same place on May 21st. And until then, happy spinning. I hope you get some fiber prep in, some time to yourself, time to sip a nice cup of tea, read a good book. I've just read 3 books. That's the one thing that I did get done the last couple of weeks was I was able to read. I couldn't do anything else, but I could read, and so I've read quite a few books. Yes, thank you, Rebecca. The syllabus link for you guys to know what's kind of coming is it will be posted. It was in Ketchup and Pickles for May. That was posted on May 1st, and we'll keep sharing that around for you guys so you know what's coming. I think that's it. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful couple weeks. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.